Welcome back to DT Daily. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today, wherever and however you are watching us. We really do appreciate it. We're live on Periscope, we're live on YouTube, we're live on Twitch, and we're live on Facebook, so you can comment. Leave your comments, your questions, whatever it is that you want to talk about. We will get to those today as we go through this show. And we're going to be joined by a special guest here in just a minute. But before we get there, we've got a special guest right here.
Like, wait a minute.
It is Tim Walbridge. No, I was trying to build you up even bigger. Like there was a whole building thing I was working on.
It's a special
guest.
A
special guest.
Special guest.
Tim Walbridge from 503 Motoring. Tim, thank you so much for hopping in here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
If you are a fan of digital trends, you have probably seen Tim's face on a number of different videos that we've had. A lot of them driving with celebrities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've had
a few.
Yeah. I've had a few now.
You've had a few now.
I think today's the day now.
Today is the day.
Right.
Well, let's talk about this. So just for anybody who doesn't know, why don't we just talk about your company really quick, just what you do.
I own 503 Motoring here in Portland. We are a local aesthetic tuner. Started in 2001. And we are about 14 employees strong, based out of Beaverton, Oregon, which is just outside Portland. And we specialize in newer, higher-end cars, a lot of luxury exotic kind of stuff, wheels, tires, aesthetic upgrades. And then a few years ago, we also opened a brokerage of sorts, too, as well.
Nice.
So that's kind of how it got us involved with you guys.
Yeah,
as well.
then that's how it ended up happening. Mm-hmm. And what we wanted to talk about, too, is we have a brand new series here from Digital Trends that has just launched. I think the episodes actually just went up
this morning.
Yeah,
this morning. Yeah.
Because I checked and it was like uploaded 20 minutes ago. I'm like, okay, so this is brand new.
Yep.
So it's a brand new series here from Digital Trends. And why don't we talk about, just give everybody kind of a rundown of what the series is.
So the series is called Behind the Wheel, and it's simply it's me, a car, and a co-pilot basically, and sometimes a pilot, and we just cruise around talking about stuff. And it's really been interesting because the original concept was much more involved than it has become now. It's very simple. It's just two humans interacting with this amazing machine, and hopefully you get some data points about the car. But what I've enjoyed about it is learning about these co-pilots and their passion for cars, their passion for music. So if you watch the episodes, you'll see some are funny, some are kind of touch on some serious topics, and it's different. I enjoy it.
Like we have some of the ones that like Marshawn Lynch. That was that was from a couple of was that last year?
That was last year,
ago, something like that.
Yeah.
The video of Marshawn driving around with you guys was hilarious.
Yeah,
I mean it was so funny. And so like for these cars, are you picking these cars or how do you decide which cars that you use?
So a few of the episodes we kind of already had in our head of what cars we wanted to use and kind of what we kind of how we wanted to transpire. And then a couple of them, the co-host actually was like, I want that.
That's what I want. Right.
And so we've actually come down the last couple episodes where we just kind of walk into our showroom and they're like, that one.
That's the one.
And then we just go.
So they just pick it there on the spot.
So the cool thing about the show, in my opinion, is that it's not car-centric. And it just kind of has its own, life. It comes alive between two people in this car. So I'm hoping everybody enjoys it. I hope you guys go watch it. So
it's really, really cool. And like I said, they just went up today, so you can check all of those out. And one of the co-hosts that I believe you had, I'm not sure if we have this person on here quite yet. I think we're getting that worked out right now. But one of them was Mr. John Oates.
Mr. John
Oates.
Yes. Yeah.
The John Oates.
From Hall & Oates.
So how did this come about and we're going to be bringing John on here in just a second, live on this show. John Oates.
Yep.
Joining us here with Digital Trends, assuming the technology works out.
Yeah.
And then I've made a promise it's not going to happen. But I believe we're getting it worked out right now. So how did it come about that you met John and John became a part of this?
Well, BJ emailed and was like, hey, what do you think of being on the air with John Oates? And I literally responded with, you mean John Oates, like Hall & Oates?
Like
and he was
John
like,
Oates?
yeah. And I was like, had no idea that he was a car guy, first of all.
Yeah.
Obviously, due to my age, I grew up with their music.
Right.
Obviously.
Oh, yeah.
And so
I listened to a lot of Hall & Oates just last summer alone. I mean, it's like it's good summer music.
It is. And so I was pleasantly surprised, and he was another one of the episodes where obviously I've never met John Oates before, and so we were just both, tossed into this ring and go, and we had an amazing time. He's a great car guy. He's a phenomenal human. We had really great conversation, and then we learned that we actually had some mutual connections in the Porsche world.
No kidding.
Yeah, and so
How
he
random.
actually, and hopefully we can get him on here so we can talk about it, but he actually had probably one of the most beautiful vehicles, just was hand built for him, and he just took delivery of it. Sadly, just after the episode, so we didn't really get to do too much on that. But hopefully we can get some imagery of that car as well that was built.
That's great.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, I think so. Off air, we're working on this right now.
Yeah.
Are we just checking with my production booth here? Are we good to go? Can John hear us?
I'm good to go if you guys are.
John can hear us. All right. Everybody watching right now, this is DT Daily. Thank you so much for tuning in, live here every day. And we are joined right now by not only Tim Walbridge, but also John Oates. John Oates from Hall & Oates, and of course, maybe even more famous, the new Digital Trends series, Behind the Wheel. John, thank you so much for hopping on here with us today.
Yeah, man, I'm glad we could work this out. I'm not too swift when it comes to this modern digital technology, but somehow it worked, so I'm very happy.
Well, you got it. You nailed it. I mean, it's working out great. Hey, John, where are you at right now? Are you on the road or at home?
No, I'm believe it or not, I'm off the road. I'm in Nashville at home, and had an amazing night last night. Played with Bob Weir and his new band Wolf Brothers at the Ryman Theater.
Wow.
Got a chance to jam with those guys, and that was really cool. Bob is an amazing guy. And hello.
Oh yeah, no, we're good. Sorry, we're talking behind the scenes. You're good.
Are you guys just getting close to each other because you like each other that much? Or?
Yes, because we're so excited we had to get close. No, we're fixing a sound issue. Tim's having trouble hearing you, but I can hear you. So he's talking about he just played with Bob Weir last night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, on the road.
So that just happened last night, but basically I'm off, and believe it or not, my new Emery 356 is in a trailer on its way to Nashville as we speak.
Wow. So this is the one that we were just talking about.
We were.
This is
correct,
the
yeah.
car that you've been waiting for. So tell me about, how did it come about that you got this new car?
Well, I started reading about Porsche's 70th anniversary. I started to realize, well, I didn't start to realize, but I realized that my birthday coincides with the Porsche's 70th birthday. And I said, I think I deserve a very special gift for myself.
Yeah.
I have custom-made guitars, and I got a few custom-made suits that I never wear. But and I said, you know what? How about a custom-made car? And I did some research, found Rod Emery, and realized he was the man. And I went to visit him in North Hollywood, where his amazing shop is. And I saw his workmanship, and I saw his passion for the cars that he builds. And I said, man, this is something very special. And I embarked on a 2-year car building journey with Rod Emery. And it's just literally been finished a month or so ago, and was at Rennsport, almost about 90%. And then it was at the Porsche Experience in Atlanta about a week or so ago for the big event they had there. And it's finished now, and it's on its way to Nashville.
That is so 2 years. It took 2 years to build the car.
Well, yeah, I mean, when I first met Rod, I'm sure a lot of his clients, they say, how long is this thing going to take? and Rod put his hand on my shoulder and said, be patient. Yeah. It's going to take 1.5 years to 2 years, and he was right on the money. I mean, it's literally will be 2 years in November 15th, so we're very close to that. And he had to find a car for me first, which he did actually cut quite quickly. And it's been a great experience going out to visit him, in the process of building this car and collaborating with him on it.
So for building a custom car, and I'm sure, Tim, you probably have lots of questions, I'm sure, but I'm just curious, like that process of doing it, like what kind of things are you customizing? Are you going through every single detail and like customizing it, like this is what I want in it, or this is how I want it to look?
Well, Rod has something that he does. His basic concept is he takes the 356, what he calls a donor car, a car that might not be so significant, in terms of if it's classic, value. Mm-hmm. Something maybe that's, in my case, the car had been run into a tree, and the front was completely crushed So it was a car that we could take and turn it into something else. And that's how the process started. Every car is a little bit different. Every story is different. But in my case, as we began to realize that the car needed some, serious cosmetic and body work, I started thinking, well, if we're going this route, there's nothing to stop us. There's no template for this. And I started coming up with the idea of, let's take what I consider to be the best characteristics of the Porsche 356 from the time it was built in the early 1950s till the time the series ended in the early around 1963, before the 911 was introduced. So I said, well, let's just take the best of the best. Let's find the best elements of this entire 13 or 14 year 356 run, and let's apply them to this car. And so that's what we began to do.
Wow.
Yeah, the car has the has a 356A front end.
Right.
It's got the Cabrio hardtop, which is already rare in its own right, and then Rod actually chopped that and laid that back to make it just look seamless. And that's what Rod is absolutely brilliant with, is that he's a visionary, and the metal workers and the staff that he has on board down there are just absolutely second to none. And so what he's created for John is just so bespoke and so amazingly over the top. So
yeah, he actually laid back headlights as well, even on the A nose that was grafted onto the B cabriolet body.
Yeah.
He laid the headlights back, so it's got a much more streamlined, rakish thing to it. He, in addition to chopping the top, as you said, Tim, he actually had to lay back the A pillar, the windshield pillar, which he did as well. So the whole thing is much sleeker and has this kind of almost speedster quality, but it's a roadster, but it's a cabriolet. And it almost looks like a coupe from certain angles. So there's really a lot of very, very subtle but very, very beautifully crafted bodywork. And then, of course, the interior is yet another aspect of it. It's got speedster seats with Italian leather and, I mean, a roll bar that's removable. There's just so, we could go on forever on this thing.
Can you speak about the motor a little bit? Because Rod is really, really good at, again, like we've talked about before, of making this monster out of all these pieces of different things that we love. The motor and transmission in this is completely unique as well, too. Can you speak on that real quick?
Yeah, the motor is actually built right down the street
Rothsport.
from you.
Yeah, right here. Yeah, Jeff.
Right out in Oregon. Rothsport Racing. And basically the motor, back in the days, it started what a lot of Porsche modifiers used as a polo motor. And in the old days, they used to take a 964 flat six, take the two middle cylinders out, weld the crankcase back together, and it became a flat four, but with modern architecture, overhead cam, twin spark ignition, electric ignition. Now Rod's crankcases are actually cast. He has his own bespoke engines built.
Yes.
But it's still basically, if you really want to make it simplistic, it's a 964 architecture, but it's a flat four instead of a flat six.
Right.
And that's made it to a 901 transmission. I had the choice between a 5 and a 4-speed. It was Rod's suggestion that I go with the 4-speed because the engine has so much torque that you really don't need those extra gears. It's got 205 horse. It's got about 180 or 190 foot-pounds of torque.
Yep.
And that's put into a car that originally had 60 horsepower.
Correct. Yeah, and weighs nothing.
It weighs about 18
weighs nothing.
pounds. So as you can imagine, it's definitely got the grunt, and it's got that feel of it's almost like having a 911 in the rear engine. It's got 911 rear suspension, disc brakes, which are also one of Rod's designs. So it's really a pretty amazing package when you come down to it.
Hey, John, I'm curious, obviously your cars. When did you first start getting interested in them? Was it as a kid? Was it later on in life?
Yeah, there was a number of things that got me into cars. I lived in a small town in Pennsylvania that had a dirt track called Hatfield Speedway, which was only a few miles away. And one of my best friend's father ran the hot dog concession at Hatfield Speedway. And so on Saturday nights, under the lights, we would sneak in under the fence and we'd hang out. I saw Mario Andretti and his brother Aldo Andretti, racing midgets and jalopies back in those days. and that kind of got me into it. And then I found these Road and Track magazines. Someone had thrown a cardboard box full of old Road and Tracks away in my little town, and I found them. I brought them home, and I started reading about all the European road racing and things like that, and these great names, Targa Florio and Fangio and Sterling Moss and all that, and it just kind of got to me. And ever since I could, as soon as I could drive, I started being into cars, and eventually started racing go-karts and SCCA and on from there. So
I think that's really
awesome.
interesting. It was the track, that really got you into seeing the people race.
And that's why you fell in love with the GT3RS that we actually had on the episode.
Oh yeah, the GT3RS you let me drive was a real thrill. I said on your video that was without a doubt my best day off on tour in my entire life.
Yes, it was. Yeah, and that's what we were just discussing before, as we were talking about each of the different episodes and how they take on their own life. And I really appreciated that you and I have never met before. And they just threw us both into this ring, and we had such a great day and so much fun. And you were so complimentary to how much how much fun you did have. So
yep. And I got to drive that little Alpha 4C too, which was very cool.
Yeah.
So
and then we took you for a rip in the McLaren.
Riding with you in the McLaren.
Yeah.
So
the
whole thing, it was a good day. I have to admit, in the 70s, 80s, I probably had a different kind of excitement on my off days.
Oh yeah. I have no doubt. We can save that. We can save that for a different episode.
Exactly.
That's the behind the scenes cut. Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, you were a super trooper that day because you were not really feeling that well too. You've kind of been on a tour, had been on a tour, and you weren't really feeling that good either. So you were an absolute trooper as well. So
it was well worth it. That was my choice was staying in a hotel and ordering room service or driving cars with you. So without doubt, I made the better decision.
All right.
Well, John, and thank you for joining us here today too. I know that you've got to get on to some other things, and we want to play a clip of Behind the Wheel. But before we do that, just really quick, wanted to talk about your music, what you have coming out, where people can check out everything new.
Well, I came out with an album last January called Arkansas, which is a very rootsy and bluesy album of old-timey songs, stuff that probably you wouldn't associate with me if you know the Hall & Oates music. But it really harks back to my days before I met Daryl Hall, the kind of music that influenced me. I was a blues guitar player. So I'm very well into that. I've got an amazing solo band that I tour with. But me and Daryl, of course, still are on the road, and we just finished this incredible tour with Train and Candace Springs all around the country. And now we've just got 2 more shows, which we do next week back east. We're doing Atlantic City, the new Hard Rock Casino, and then going up to Foxwood up in Connecticut for 2 final shows for 2018. And then when 19 rolls around, I'm going to try to carve out some time to enjoy my car.
Yes.
But in between, we'll be doing a lot more shows. So there's lots of good stuff happening.
That's great. Well, John, thank you so much for hopping on with us today. I know you got to get on to your other things. We're going to play that clip, and then Tim and I think, let's talk for a little bit after that,
Sure,
too.
sounds good. Nice to see you, John.
Share that link, Tim, because I said that's one of my favorite things. I told all my friends and my PR folks, I said, just share the heck out of that thing because
awesome.
It's a very well done piece, man.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, let's do it again.
Hey, what we should do is we should come out and drive that 356 on some Nashville roads.
Hey, you can come out, but you can't drive it.
Damn it.
Nice try.
Damn it. I got an empty right seat for you, though, man.
I'll take it all day long.
Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, John, thank you so much. Thanks for hopping on with us. Let's go ahead and play a clip from Behind the Wheel so you can see the entire thing at digitaltrends.com. But let's play just a little bit of a taste for it.
What's your favorite modern car that you've driven so far?
I'd say the GT3 at the track, because I drove the GT3, I drove a Corvette Z06, and a Nissan GTR, back to back. And honestly, the GT3 just slayed everything. It's a hero car. It just makes you're just able to drive it really quick right out of the box. And I've never driven the RS, but I can already tell it's more hard-edged.
You know the good thing about the GT3 is for the value, it's probably the best track weapon you can buy right now because Porsche put the 10-year,
Oh, yeah.
100,000 mile warranty on them. You know, because of all the motor
incredible.
problems they had.
Incredible.
Yeah, you can pick that car up for 140. You know.
I did drive the Turbo S at the Porsche Experience in Atlanta, and I have to say, if you just wanted a car that absolutely did everything,
Yeah. Agreed.
it would be really hard to beat that car. That car, it's like the silent assassin.
Yeah.
You know, that thing is just amazing.
Put you in PDK. You can have a little bit of fun there. Now it's time to feel it. Feel that difference? Once it clicks in there, man, it's a totally different car.
It's funny, I very rarely use the shifters anymore. Damn, PDK is so good.
Yeah? You know, that's the big argument is, you know, are you a 3-pedal guy or are you a PDK guy? And, oh, I'm not PDK, you know, I don't want the car doing the work for me, but damn, it's fun.
Once you realize how good it is, that's what happened to me at Coda. I was driving it and I was shifting and doing all this stuff, and the guy was with me said, let George do it. He said, see what happens. And man, I got quicker and quicker and quicker.
Yeah.
Back here with DT Daily, that looks like so much fun.
It was a good time. It was a great day. Yeah.
And the entire series is up now at Digital Trends. You can watch that one. I know you've got some others. I think Martell Webster.
We've got, great friend, family member Martell Webster. We did a couple episodes with him, and he's a hoot. We have a great. I just said a hoot. He's a hoot.
You did.
He's funny as hell. We had a great time, and then actually my right-hand man and best friend Ian and I are in. What's known as probably one of my favorite cars, which is Rusty, which is a 65 Volkswagen Beetle. And then we're with Luke Spiller from the Struts, which is this British rock band. And in a, what are we in, a 48 Ford? 51 Ford. We're in a Ford convertible. So yes, there's a little something for everybody in there, and I think we're all just very interested to see how everyone takes it.
Well, that's great. Tim, thank you so much for hopping on today with us too. And obviously, you can check that out at digitaltrends.com.